I never believed one small box could carry the weight of my entire future. But that night, as I held the velvet case in my hands, I felt like I was cradling my whole life. Inside was a simple silver band with a diamond that sparkled brighter than the stars. It wasn't the biggest stone, and it wasn't the most expensive ring. But to me, it was priceless because I bought it with every bit of love I had for Sophia. I worked double shifts at the cafe for months. My hands smelled like coffee beans, and my back ached from carrying trays. But every tip I earned went into a jar I hid in my room. Every coin, every dollar, meant one thing. I was building a future for us. Sophia always said she wanted something meaningful, not flashy. I believed her. Maybe that's why I didn't buy her the biggest ring in the store, but one that felt like us, humble but strong. I remember Mrs. Carter, the old jeweler, smiling at me when I first saw it. "Young man," she said softly, "you're not just buying a ring, you're making a promise." I nodded, and I intend to keep it. So that was the moment I knew. Sophia was the one. When I reached home that night, I rushed upstairs like a boy hiding candy from his parents. I pulled open my drawer and slid the little velvet box into the far corner under my shirts. Just seeing it there made me smile. I closed the drawer slowly, like I was sealing away a secret dream. Later that evening, I met Sophia at her apartment. She greeted me at the door, dressed in a new dress that shimmered under the lights. My heart always skipped when I saw her smile, which was the kind of smile that made me believe everything in my life had meaning. "You look beautiful," I whispered. Handing her the small bouquet of daisies I picked up on the way, she glanced at them and gave a half smile. "Thanks, Ethan, but you know I prefer roses. They're classier." Her words stung a little, but I brushed it off. I told myself she was just tired, or maybe stressed from work. I laughed it away, pretending not to care. "I'll bring roses next time," I said, forcing a grin, as we sat down for dinner. She talked about a new restaurant Daniel, her friend, had taken her to. A high-end place downtown, where the menu had no prices. She went on about the view, the wine, the way the waiter pulled out her chair. I listened quietly, nodding at the right moments, even though I felt a knot forming in my chest. I hated how often his name came up lately. Daniel this, Daniel that. But I didn't want to sound insecure. I loved Sophia too much to risk losing her over my jealousy. That night, when I returned home, I opened the drawer again. I pulled out the ring box and held it against my chest. "Someday soon," I whispered to myself, "she'll understand. She'll see that love matters more than money, more than fancy dinners or expensive wine." I imagined the way her eyes would light up when I got down on one knee. I imagined her saying yes, crying, hugging me like she never wanted to let go. The picture in my mind was so beautiful. I didn't care about the cracks I was already starting to see in reality. For me, that ring wasn't just jewelry. It was proof of my devotion. It was the bridge to our future. It was everything I had. It's everything I was. And I believed foolishly that it would be enough. Asterisk. The next few weeks should have been the happiest of my life. I had the ring, the plan, the dream. Every time I looked at Sophia, I pictured her as my future wife. But the more I watched her, the more that picture started to blur. It began with small things, missed calls, unanswered texts, sudden work meetings that went late into the night. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. But every excuse left a shadow in my mind. One evening, I was waiting outside her apartment. She was supposed to be back by 7, but when the clock ticked past 9, I called her. No answer. 10 o'clock, still nothing. My chest tightened with each passing minute. Finally, my phone buzzed. "Sophia, sorry, with Daniel. We're grabbing food. Don't wait up." My hands went cold. She didn't even bother to call me, just a quick text, like I was an afterthought. I stuffed my phone in my pocket and sat on the steps outside her building. The night air felt heavier than usual. When I heard footsteps, I looked up. It was Emily, my younger sister, carrying a bag of groceries. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" she asked, frowning. "Waiting for Sophia," I muttered. Emily put the bag down and crossed her arms. "Again, Ethan, don't you see what's happening? She's not treating you right." Every time I hear her name, it's followed by Daniel. Don't you think that's strange? I shook my head quickly. She says they're just friends. Emily's voice softened. And you believe that? I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But the doubt gnawed at me like a hidden wound. She loves me, I whispered, almost to myself. She has to. Emily sighed, placing a hand on my shoulder. Just be careful. I don't want to see you hurt. The next weekend, I took Sophia to the small diner where we first met. I thought maybe nostalgia would remind her of us the way we used to be before Daniel came into the picture as we sat down. I smiled. Remember this place? You spilled coffee on me and I told you it was the best day of my life because it meant I got to meet you. She chuckled lightly, but her eyes weren't on me. They were on her phone. She kept texting, her fingers tapping fast, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Who are you talking to? I asked, forcing my tone to stay calm. Just Daniel, she said casually, without looking up. He's asking me about some project. The knot in my chest pulled tighter. Can it wait? I asked. I wanted to spend some time with you. Finally, she looked up, irritation flashing in her eyes. Ethan, don't be controlling. It's just a text. You're overreacting. I leaned back, biting my tongue. I wanted to shout, to demand answers, but instead, I said softly, I miss us, Sophia. I feel like you're slipping away. For a second, her expression softened. Then she shook her head. You're imagining things. Stop worrying so much. She went back to her phone, leaving me to stare at the ring still hidden in my drawer at home. I wondered if I was the only one who still believed in us. That night, Marcus came over. He was my best friend since childhood, blunt to a fault. Man, you look like a ghost, he said, grabbing a soda from my fridge. What's going on? I hesitated, then told him everything, how Sophia kept disappearing, how Daniel was always around, how I felt like I was holding on to something already slipping through my fingers. Marcus whistled. Ethan, I don't like the sound of this. You're killing yourself for her, and she's busy with another guy. You deserve better, bro. She's just confused, I argued weakly. I can win her back. I just need to show her how much she means to me. Marcus slammed the soda can on the table. Wake up. Love isn't supposed to be a competition. If she wanted you, she wouldn't make you fight for her like this. His words cut deep, but I couldn't accept them. I shook my head. No. She'll realize it. She has to, Marcus sighed, running a hand through his hair. I hope you're right. But don't say I didn't warn you. Lying in bed that night, I stared at the ceiling, my heart pounding with doubt. I thought of Sophia's laughter when she texted Daniel. I thought of the way she brushed off my worries like they didn't matter. And for the first time, a terrifying thought entered my mind. What if she didn't love me anymore? I turned to the side, clutching my pillow, whispering into the dark. I'll hold on. I'll fight for us. No matter what. But even as I said the words, I could feel the cracks forming in my dream, splitting wider with every passing day. Asterisk. I woke up earlier than usual that morning, my chest tight with unease. For weeks I had been telling myself that Sophia was just distracted, that Daniel was only a friend, that things would go back to the way they used to be. But the voice in the back of my mind never stopped whispering, she's slipping away. I got out of bed and went to the drawer. I hadn't opened it in days. My heart raced as I pulled it open, expecting to see the little velvet box where I had hidden it. My eyes darted to the corner, empty. The shirts were still folded neatly. The drawer just as I had left it, except the ring was gone. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. I pulled out everything, tossing shirts on the floor, searching every corner. My hands trembled as I tore through the drawer again and again. Like maybe I had just missed it the first time, but no matter how many times I looked, it wasn't there. My legs gave out and I sank onto the floor. I pressed my palms to my face, whispering, no, no, no. The ring had been the one thing keeping me steady, the symbol of everything I believed in, and now it was gone. I couldn't sit still. I raced out of my apartment and headed downtown to the jewelry shop where I had bought it. Mrs. Carter, the jeweler, was behind the counter, polishing a display case. Her eyes lit up when she saw me, but then softened into something else bitty. "Ethan," she said gently. "It's been a while." I tried to force a smile. "Hi. I lost something. The ring I bought here. I was hoping maybe—" My words trailed off. I didn't even know what I was asking. She studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "Sit down, dear." I lowered myself onto the chair across from her, my hands clenched so tight they hurt. "Sometimes," she said carefully, "people bring back things that were once gifts, or things they no longer want. They sell them. I don't judge, but it happens more often than you think." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. My stomach twisted. "You mean—" My voice cracked. "You mean someone sold it back?" She didn't nod, but she didn't deny it either. Her silence was answer enough. I felt my throat tighten. "Did she? Did Sophia come here?" Mrs. Carter's eyes softened even more. "Ethan, I can't say names. But I know the pain in your eyes, and I know you don't deserve it." I couldn't breathe. The air in the shop felt heavy, pressing down on me. I stumbled out before she could say anything else. The walk home blurred around me, cars honking. People rushing, neon signs glowing above. None of it registered. All I could see in my mind was Sophia's face, laughing at Daniel's jokes, texting him late at night, brushing me off like I was nothing. And now I knew the truth. The ring that I bought with my sweat. My sleepless nights. My hope, it wasn't hidden. It wasn't lost. She had taken it. She had sold it. And she had done it behind my back. By the time I reached my apartment, my chest was burning. I slammed the door shut and fell onto the couch. Gripping my head in my hands, she sold our future. I thought back to all the times she told me, "Love matters more than money." The words echoed in my ears like a cruel joke. For hours, I just sat there in silence, staring at the wall. Emily called me. Marcus texted me, but I couldn't answer. What would I even say? That the woman I wanted to marry had already thrown me away for someone else? The worst part wasn't just the betrayal, it was the realization that I had seen the signs all along. The missed calls. The late nights, the way she smiled when Daniel's name popped up. I had ignored them because I loved her too much. Now all that love felt like a knife in my chest. Later that night, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it to find Emily standing there, worry etched across her face. "Ethan, what happened?" she asked softly. I swallowed hard, my voice barely a whisper. "It's gone." The ring. She sold it. Emily's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" I went to Mrs. Carter. She didn't say it directly, but I know. It was Sophia. Emily stepped inside and wrapped her arms around me. For the first time in years, I felt like a child again, broken. Helpless. "She doesn't deserve you," Emily whispered. "Not after this." But her words didn't soothe me. They only deepened the ache. Because in my heart, I still wanted to believe Sophia loved me. I still wanted to believe there was some explanation, some mistake. Yet deep down, I knew the truth. The woman I loved had chosen someone else. And she sold my love like it was just another thing she could trade away. Asterisk. After learning the truth from Mrs. Carter, sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the ring in Sophia's hands, not on her finger, but sliding across a counter. Traded away like it meant nothing. The pain twisted into something sharper. I needed to know where that money went. The next evening, I waited outside Sophia's apartment. I told myself it was foolish, pathetic even, but I couldn't stop. My heart still clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, she had a reason. That maybe I was wrong. At around 7, she appeared dressed in a silk blouse and heels I had never seen before. She walked quickly, phone in hand, smiling as she typed. I followed from a distance, keeping to the shadows. My chest pounded with each step. She stopped at a boutique, one of those expensive stores with mannequins, in suits that cost more than my rent. I lingered near the glass, pretending to look at my phone inside. I watched her browse the shelves with a brightness I hadn't seen in months. She finally picked out a leather wallet, the kind that screams luxury. My stomach dropped when I saw her pull out her card to pay because I knew exactly where that money came from. My ring. I pressed my forehead against the cold glass, whispering, no. But she was smiling, her laughter soft as the cashier handed her the wrapped box, and then he appeared. Daniel Tall, confident with that arrogant grin plastered on his face. He walked up behind her and she turned, her eyes lighting up like he was the sun itself. She handed him the gift. For you, she said. I couldn't hear the words clearly, but I could read her lips. He laughed, leaning down to kiss her cheek. The world tilted. My knees nearly gave out. I gripped the edge of the window frame, the glass biting into my palms. That was supposed to be our moment. That wallet should have been nothing compared to the ring I bought her. But she didn't want my love. She wanted his approval. They left the store together. Walking so close, their hands brushed, until finally, he wrapped an arm around her. I followed, each step heavier than the last. They stopped at a cafe with glowing lights, sat outside, and ordered drinks. I stood across the street, watching. Sophia leaned forward, laughing at something he said, her eyes sparkling in a way I hadn't seen in months. She looked alive, free, happy, and I realized she had never looked at me like that. Not recently. Maybe not ever. I bit down hard, tasting blood. My hands shook, my vision blurred, but I couldn't move. I was frozen in place, forced to witness the betrayal play out like some cruel performance written just for me. A memory slammed into my mind. Sophia once telling me, as long as we're together, nothing else matters. Lies. All of it. When I finally turned away, the streetlights blurred through my tears. I walked aimlessly, each step echoing with the weight of her laughter in my ears. Back in my apartment, I collapsed onto the couch. My body shook as the reality sank in. She sold our future to buy him a gift. The words spilled out of me like poison. I said them again and again until my throat burned. I thought of the nights I worked double shifts, the coins I dropped into that jar, the sacrifices I made just to see her smile. And in return, she gave my love to someone else. I pressed my fists into my eyes, but the tears came anyway. Hot, bitter, relentless. Later, my phone buzzed. A message from Sophia. Sorry I can't meet tonight. Busy. Don't wait up. I stared at the screen, my chest hollow, busy. I had just watched her feed another man the love I gave her. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, ready to confront her, ready to spill every ounce of pain. But instead, I dropped the phone. No, not yet. She thought she was fooling me. I had seen the truth with my own eyes. And now, for the first time, I felt something stronger than heartbreak. I felt anger. A quiet, dangerous anger that burned low in my chest, because the moment I watched her hand him that gift, I realized something. Sophia thought she had me wrapped around her finger, blind and weak, but she was wrong. I didn't sleep that night. The image of Sophia handing Daniel that gift burned behind my eyelids like a scar I couldn't close. By morning, my chest felt hollow, but my head was buzzing with restless thoughts. I needed answers. When Sophia texted me the next day, "Dinner tonight?" "I miss you," I almost laughed. "Miss me?" After what I saw, the words felt like poison. Still, I agreed. If she wanted to play innocent, I'd let her speak. But this time, I wouldn't ignore the cracks. She opened the door that evening, her hair perfectly styled, lips painted red. She leaned in to kiss my cheek, but I stepped past her, my jaw tight. "What's wrong?" she asked, shutting the door behind me. I turned to face her, searching her eyes. "Where were you last night?" Her gaze flickered, but only for a second. Then she smiled too sweetly. "I told you, Ethan, I was busy." "Work stuff." "Work stuff," I repeated. My voice was low, steady. "At the cafe across town? With Daniel?" Her smile faltered, but she quickly recovered. "You're jealous again. Why do you always think the worst of me?" I clenched my fists at my sides. "Because I saw you, Sophia. I saw you give him that wallet. The one you bought with my ring?" Her eyes widened, shock, guilt, then anger flashing in quick succession. "What are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me," I snapped, my voice breaking. The ring I saved for months to buy. The one I was going to give you. You sold it and used the money on him. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then she laughed a sharp, bitter sound. Ethan, stop being so dramatic. It was just a ring. A piece of metal. Do you really think that proves love? Her words cut deeper than any knife. That ring was my love, I said, my chest trembling. Every hour I worked, every tip I saved, it was for us. And you threw it away like it meant nothing. Sophia crossed her arms, her expression cold. Maybe if you stopped clinging to cheap symbols, you'd understand that love isn't about rings. It's about security, stability. Things you can't give me right now. The room spun. My heart sank, not because of what she said, but because I finally understood. She didn't want me. She wanted what Daniel could give her: money, status, the illusion of a better life. You could have told me, I whispered. You could have been honest. And listened to you beg me to stay. No thanks. My chest burned. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to ask her why I wasn't enough. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just stood there, broken. Finally, she stepped closer, her tone softening, almost mocking. Ethan, you're sweet. You always were. But love doesn't pay the bills. Daniel, he makes me feel secure. That's something you can't change. She touched my arm lightly, like she was comforting me. I jerked away. I don't want your pity, I said, my voice raw. Her lips curled into a smirk. Then don't ask for it. When I left her apartment, the night air hit me like ice. My chest heaved as I walked, each step heavier than the last. By the time I reached home, Emily was waiting outside my door. Ethan? She asked, her eyes full of worry. What happened? I swallowed hard. My voice cracked as I whispered. She admitted it. She sold the ring. She said Daniel gives her security. Emily's hands flew to her mouth, tears filling her eyes. I'm so sorry. She pulled me into a hug, but I stood stiff, numb. Behind her, Marcus appeared, leaning against the wall. He studied my face, his expression hard. So it's true, he muttered. She really did it. I nodded. My throat tightened, but no tears came. I was past tears now. Marcus stepped forward, his voice firm. Then forget her. She's made her choice. Don't let her destroy you any more than she already has. I met his eyes, silent for a long moment. Finally, I said, I don't know if I can. Emily gripped my arm. You have to, Ethan. Please. For yourself. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The cracks in my dream weren't cracks anymore. They were gaping holes. Everything I thought I knew about Sophia, about us, had collapsed, but beneath the grief, beneath the pain, something else stirred inside me, a quiet anger. Not the kind that exploded, but the kind that simmered. The kind that waited for the first time. I didn't imagine a future with Sophia. I imagined a future without her, and the thought didn't scare me. It gave me strength. The morning after confronting Sophia, I stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing the man staring back at me. My eyes were hollow, my hair a mess, and my shirt wrinkled from tossing in bed all night. But there was something else in my reflection, a faint spark. Buried under the exhaustion, I was still here. Broken, yes. But alive, and for the first time since Sophia betrayed me, I whispered to myself, maybe I don't need her to breathe. At work, Mr. Harris, my boss, called me into his office. He was a tall man with sharp features and a voice that always carried authority. Ethan, he said, folding his hands on the desk. You've been distracted lately. I won't pretend I haven't noticed. My heart sank. The last thing I needed was to lose my job on top of everything else. I'm sorry, sir. I'll do better. He studied me for a long moment. That's what I want to hear. Because I've been thinking of assigning you to the expansion project. It's demanding, but if you can handle it, there's a promotion waiting at the end. I blinked. A promotion? Yes. I need someone reliable. Someone hungry. You strike me as that kind of man. For a second, I couldn't breathe. A week ago, I might have turned it down, too consumed by Sophia. But now, Now, I needed something else to pour my heart into, something that wouldn't betray me. "I'll take it," said firmly. A faint smile touched his lips. "Good. Don't prove me wrong." That evening, Marcus dropped by. He didn't knock. He never did. He barged in with a pizza box and 2 beers. "You're not allowed to mope anymore," he declared, tossing me a beer. "Consider this an intervention." I managed a small smile. "What if I'm not hungry?" "Too bad." He flipped the box open. "Eat, drink, then tell me you're finally done with that." "Which?" I sighed, taking a slice. "I don't know if I'm done, but I'm trying." "That's enough for now," Marcus said, his tone softening. "Just keep trying." We ate in silence for a while. For the first time in weeks, I felt a little lighter. The real surprise came 2 days later. I was at the library working on some documents for the expansion project when I bumped into a woman carrying an armful of books. They spilled onto the floor, scattering across the tiles. "Sorry." I crouched to help, gathering them up. She laughed softly, brushing her hair behind her ear. "No, it's my fault. I always carry too many." Her name was Claire. She worked at the library. Part-time while studying art. There was nothing flashy about her, no expensive clothes, no heavy makeup. But her smile was warm, steady. As we stacked the books, she glanced at me. "You look tired." "Long day?" I hesitated, then chuckled. "Long year." She tilted her head, her eyes kind. "Well, books can't fix everything, but they're a good escape." We talked for a few minutes before I left, but her words stayed with me. There was no judgment in her tone, no hidden agenda, just kindness. And after Sophia's coldness, it felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. That night, Emily called. "Ethan," she asked softly, "how are you holding up?" I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. "I'm not okay. But I'm moving, one step at a time." She let out a relieved sigh. That's all I wanted to hear. For the first time, I believed my own words. I wasn't okay. But maybe I didn't have to be not yet. Because for the first time, I wasn't standing still. Lying in bed, I thought of Sophia again, not with longing, but with clarity. She had traded love for vanity, security for shallow comfort. And me. I had survived, my hand curled into a fist. She thought she broke me. She thought I'd beg forever, but she was wrong. Because slowly, piece by piece, I was learning to rebuild. And one day soon, she would see it. It's strange how fast the world can change. A few weeks ago, I was the one broken, crawling through each day with a weight on my chest. But now, every morning I woke with purpose. Work consumed me, yes, but it healed me too, Mr. Harris. Praised my dedication on the expansion project. For the first time, people at the office looked to me for answers instead of ignoring me. My late nights were no longer about pain, they were about progress. Sophia, on the other hand, began to fade from my life. Not because I stopped thinking about her, but because she started slipping into the background like an old photograph losing its color. One evening, as I was leaving work, I saw her across the street. She wasn't in silk or heels anymore. Her hair was messy, her eyes swollen. Daniel wasn't beside her. She noticed me. For a moment, her lips parted like she wanted to call out, but I just walked past. My chest didn't ache this time. Instead, I felt a quiet satisfaction, like the universe had started to balance itself. Marcus was the one who gave me the full story. "Guess what?" he said, smirking, as we sat in his car eating takeout. "Your ex's golden boy dumped her." I blinked. "Daniel?" "Yeah, apparently he got bored. Told her she was too clingy. Then he left for someone else." Brutal. A part of me wanted to laugh, but instead I just stared out the window. The pain in Sophia's face earlier suddenly made sense. "She sold everything for him," I muttered, "and he threw her away like trash." Marcus leaned back, sipping his drink. Karma's fast when it needs to be. Meanwhile, Claire kept crossing my path. At first it was by accidents, small conversations at the library. Then one day she brought me coffee when she noticed I had been working late. "You look like you needed this," she said with a soft smile. I took the cup. warmth spreading through me not from the drink, but from her gesture. It was so simple, so pure, unlike Sophia, who measured love in gifts and money. Claire gave without expecting anything back, and though my heart was still scarred, I couldn't help but feel lighter around her. One night, Emily came over for dinner. She looked around my apartment, noticing the cleaned-up space. The documents neatly stacked on my desk, the spark back in my eyes. "You're changing," she said, smiling. "Am I?" I asked. "Yes. You're finally remembering who you are. And honestly, I'm proud of you, Ethan." Her words hit me deeper than I expected. For months, I had defined myself by Sophia's approval, by whether or not she loved me. Now, I realized I didn't need her validation. I had people who cared. I had a future I was building with my own hands. But Sophia wasn't done with me, not yet. It happened on a rainy evening. I was leaving the office, my umbrella shielding me from the storm, when I saw her standing near the entrance. She was soaked, shivering, mascara running down her face. "Ethan," she whispered when our eyes met. I froze. The woman who once mocked my love now looked fragile, desperate. "Please," she said, stepping closer. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. Part of me wanted to hear her out. Another part of me wanted to walk away without a word. Her voice cracked. "He left me. Daniel left me, Ethan. I made a mistake." The rain pounded harder, drowning out the city noise. I stared at her, memories flooding back the ring. The laughter, the betrayal. Once, I would have given anything to hear her admit she was wrong. But now, all I felt was a calm I couldn't explain. That night, I lay in bed replaying the scene. Sophia, broken and begging, was something I never thought I'd witness. Yet instead of joy or triumph, all I felt was clarity. Her downfall wasn't mine to celebrate. It was simply the natural consequence of her choices. Karma had come for her, just as it had lifted me, and as I closed my eyes, one thought echoed in my mind: the past no longer owns me. Asterisk, the rain hadn't stopped since that night outside my office. Maybe it was fitting. The world seemed determined to wash away everything old before letting me step into something new. I hadn't planned to see Sophia again. In my mind, she was already part of another life, a memory fading into the background. But fate had other plans. She showed up at my apartment door 2 days later. When I opened it, I barely recognized her. She looked thinner, her makeup smeared, her eyes swollen like she hadn't slept in days. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't move. I just leaned against the doorframe, staring. "What are you doing here?" I need to talk to you," she said. "Please." I almost closed the door. Almost. But some part of Mitha, part that once loved her more than life, let her inside. She sat on the edge of my couch, wringing her hands. The silence between us was heavy, suffocating. Finally, she spoke. "I made a mistake," she said, her voice cracking. "Daniel. He left me. He used me, Ethan, and now I see. You were the only one who ever truly loved me." Her words might have broken me once. They might have lit a fire of hope in my chest. But now, they just sounded empty. I sat across from her, my hands folded. "You sold my ring to buy him a gift? Do you remember that?" Tears welled in her eyes. I wasn't thinking clearly. I thought he could give me a better life, but I was wrong. I leaned forward, my voice sharp. "Wrong, Sophia? That ring wasn't just jewelry. It was my heart and my future. And you gave it away like it meant nothing." She covered her face with her hands, sobbing. I know. Please, Ethan, I'll do anything. Just give me another chance." For a long moment, I just stared at her. My chest ached, but not with longing, with finality. Memories flashed before my eyes. Her laughter with Daniel. Her cold dismissal when I confronted her. The emptiness I felt when I realized she had betrayed me. And then, another memory rose above them, all Claire handing me that cup of coffee. Her gentle smile reminding me that kindness didn't have to come with conditions. I took a deep breath. "Sophia, you broke something that can't be fixed. I loved you more than anyone, and you chose him. You didn't just betray me, you destroyed the version of me who believed you were my forever." She looked up, desperation etched on her face. "But we can start over." "No," I said firmly. "You don't get to walk back into my life now that yours has fallen apart. I already watched you sell our future. There's nothing left to save." Her sobs grew louder. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "You'll regret this," she whispered through her tears. I stood, my voice steady. "No, Sophia. I already did. For months. But not anymore." When she finally left, the apartment felt lighter, as if her presence had been a weight pressing down on me all along. I leaned against the door after it closed, my chest heaving. The old me, the one who begged, who clung, who lived only for her approval, was gone. All that remained was a man who had been broken, but not destroyed. That night, Emily called. "How did it go?" she begged, I said simply. But I didn't take her back. Could almost hear her smile through the phone. "Good, I'm proud of you," Marcus texted later too. "Finally grew a spine, huh?" "About time," I laughed for the first time in weeks. A real laugh, not forced, not hollow. Lying in bed, I thought of Sophia again. But instead of longing or anger, all I felt was indifference. She was a chapter of my story, nothing more, and somewhere out there, maybe waiting at a library desk with a stack of books and a kind smile, was someone who could be part of the next chapter. As the rain finally eased outside, I whispered into the quiet, "I'm free." The morning after Sophia left my apartment, the world felt different. Not brighter, not softer, but clearer, like the fog had finally lifted. For months, I had been stumbling in the dark, chasing shadows of what I thought love was. Now, as the sunlight streamed through my window, I realized something simple but powerful. I wasn't chasing anymore. I was walking forward. At work, Mr. Harris called me into his office again. He handed me a thick folder, its expression unreadable at first. "You've done excellent work on the expansion project," he said finally. "Better than I expected. You've proven yourself." I blinked, my heart racing. "I want you to lead the next phase," he continued. "It won't be easy, but I think you're ready." I took the folder, my hand steady. "Thank you, sir." "I won't let you down." I was walking out of that office. I realized something. I had built this. Not Sophia, not anyone else, just me. And for the first time in a long while, I felt proud of myself. Later that week, I found myself back at the library. I told myself it was for research, but part of me knew that wasn't the whole truth. Claire was behind the desk, sorting books. When she looked up and saw me, her smile was soft, genuine, nothing like the hollow smiles I had grown used to. "Back again," she teased. "Yeah," I said, smiling faintly. "Guess I like the quiet." "Or maybe you like good company," she replied with a playful glint in her eyes. For a moment, I felt something stir in my chest, not the heavy, desperate need I had once felt for Sophia, but something gentler, something real. That evening, Emily stopped by with groceries. She studied me as I unpacked the bags, her expression curious. "You're different," she said finally. "Different how?" "Lighter, stronger, like you finally let go." I thought about her words, then nodded. "I have," because it was true. Sophia's face no longer haunted me. Her laughter with Daniel no longer stabbed at my chest. She was just gone, and I was okay with that. A week later, Marcus dragged me out for dinner. Halfway through the meal, he leaned back and smirked. "You know," he said, "I was sure you'd crash and burn after Sophia. But look at you. You're standing taller, almost like a man." I rolled my eyes. "Almost." He grinned. "Don't get cocky." "But yeah, I'm proud of you, man. You didn't let her ruin you." I raised my glass. "To new beginnings." "To karma," he added with a laugh. We clinked glasses, and for the first time, I laughed without bitterness. That night, as I walked home, the city lights reflected in the wet streets. The air was crisp, clean after the rain. I thought about everything, the love I gave, the betrayal I endured, the pain I carried, and I realized it all had led me here. Sophia's betrayal wasn't the end of me. It was the beginning of a stronger version of myself. When I got home, I stood by the window, staring out at the city. I thought of the ring, the one that had once symbolized everything. I no longer needed it, because I had something better now: freedom, clarity, and the courage to start again. Maybe someday I'd find love again. Maybe with someone like Claire, who smiled without conditions. Or maybe I'd just learn to stand on my own for a while. Either way, I knew one thing for certain. The man who once whispered, "I'll hold on no matter what," was gone. The man who stood here now whispered something different: "I'll never beg to be loved again." And as I turned away from the window, the dawn of my new life felt closer than ever.